Welcome back to another episode of Learning to Cook with yours truly. Today starts a new theme and a new series for the next couple of weeks. We're going to be learning how to cook different types of grains. And I decided to start with white rice and specifically how to make a fake-out, takeout style sticky rice that you would maybe get from your nearby favorite Asian place. And we're gonna do that in a way that is great for side dishes, both for Asian style dishes, but also for different kinds of recipes, whether it's just a side dish, you're piling on something else besides a stir fry type of a meal. So we're gonna get into all of that here in this episode. Before we get to cooking, I want to do a quick breakdown of two different types of white rice that you could use. There are a couple of primary differences between the two. They look very similar. If you were to look at them, you'd be like, what's the difference? The first one I would like to acknowledge is that just a regular long grain or medium grain white rice is gonna be the cheapest option of all the rices that you find on the rice aisle at your grocery store. So if you're looking to save all the money, go with just a regular long grain white rice. It's going to cook in a similar way. When we get to the cooking methods, it's going to cook in a similar way. If you're wanting to do a traditional fake-out, takeout style white rice, that sticky rice, I would go with a jasmine rice. It's a little tiny bit more expensive, but it has a scent and a flavor to it that's just unique enough and really does complement those Asian dishes that you would typically be eating with a takeout style white rice. So go with the jasmine rice, a tiny bit more expensive, still very affordable, but it'll bring up that level of flavor and scent for your dish just a little bit. If you're going to do a side dish for a sort of a Tex-Mex style, you want to cook rice to go with, maybe mixed into maybe a burrito, or you're doing the, copycat Chipotle style rice with lime and cilantro, then I would probably go with just a regular long grain white rice. That's a great option. It has, again, less of that scent and flavor to it that might contradict some of the flavors if you're using this with a Tex-Mex style of recipe. So jasmine for sure for Asian, long grain white rice for any of it, but definitely use this one if you're going with a Tex-Mex style meal. So I mentioned the cilantro lime option, like a copycat style to Chipotle, but you can also cook this rice and then add other ingredients to it, like a Spanish style rice where you could do some of those Tex-Mex and Spanish spices with a little bit of tomato sauce, mix all that together to give it that sort of red coloring, if you will. You could also use this type of a rice to make a pilaf that is going to have maybe onion, garlic, some little bits of pasta in it, and some chicken broth. So there's different ways that you can flavorize this rice, either once you cook it or while you are cooking it. But for today, we're just going to cook this sort of straight up white rice style. The first way we're going to cook it is in the Instant Pot, and the second way we're going to cook it is with the shock and boil method. So let's get to it now. When it comes to making a true sticky rice, where it's literally going to stick to the spoon and it's going to do a really good job of sticking to the foods that you're tossing it with or serving it with, stir fry or orange chicken later on, you want to rinse it off. And the reason we want to do this is to remove any excess starch that is in, around the rice that in the package. We want to remove that starch so that when it cooks, it creates that sticky end result. This is probably one of my most favorite ways to do white rice, whether I'm doing a sticky rice with the jasmine rice or just cooking rice. Instant Pot is one of my go-tos, but I'm also going to teach you the shock and boil method here as well. So rinsed rice, it's going to go right in here. Look at these little friends trying to escape. We're going to put this right into here. Cooking Instant Pot rice is a little different. It's not, when you do it on the stovetop, it's more of a 2-to-1 liquid ratio. This is a 1-to-1 ratio with cooking white rice like this. So I'm just going to give that a swirl. So I always like to load up my Instant Pot insert outside of the base just to keep the rim a little bit cleaner. So we're gonna go ahead and just add this in. I'm not adding any salt. Sometimes I'll do butter, salt, a little garlic, a little chicken stock. Like we're just doing straight water and rice to get that true takeout style sticky rice that we are after. So transfer the insert into the base and put the lid on and set the valve to sealing so that it'll come to pressure. And then we're gonna cook it on manual high pressure for 7 minutes. So with this stovetop style cooking for this sort of stickier fake out, takeout style rice, whether it's Asian, Tex-Mex, or just as a side dish, we're going to toast the rice kernels, shock them, and then boil them. That will help us get to that perfectly cooked rice result that has that stickiness so that it's sticking to each other. And also we are going to do a little bit of a comparison of the sticky white rice that we cook and some fluffy rice that I have already cooked that is in the fridge. So we'll warm that up and show you the difference in sort of the maybe what you think of as a traditional kind of fluffier, softer rice, less sticky versus the sticky white rice that we're going to do here. The first thing we're gonna do is heat up some oil, probably 2 tablespoons, maybe a tablespoon per cup of rice that you're cooking. So I have 3 cups of rice that I have rinsed off. I'm going to warm up 3 tablespoons of just any cooking oil. We wanna get that hot before we add in the rice kernels. Okay, we're gonna check to see if the oil is ready. I'm just gonna take a little bit of the water and just oil's ready. So the oil's ready for these corn kernels. So I'm going to drop those in. I'm using my heavier stock pot for this. This is a Dutch oven, a ceramic. Because it has a heavier lid, it'll keep more steam from staying in the pot, but any stock pot will work. I just prefer to use this one. I'm using my favorite spinella. Maybe little kernels flying everywhere. I love this guy. Probably my most favorite gadget. No, third most, it's number 3. I've already shared 1 and 2. You can go back and watch the other videos to figure out what those are, but this is number 3. I love the shape of it. I love that it's silicone, it cleans easily. I have 2 of them here in my kitchen. I use them all the time. It works really well for scraping, batters. All right, so what we're doing is toasting this rice. We're gonna toss and toast this rice for just a couple of minutes. And as soon as I start to see any sort of browning is when I'm then gonna add my liquid. So I have my liquid measured out right here, ready to go. So the first thing is toasting. The second thing is shocking, and then we will boil and then simmer until it's cooked to perfection. So we are still in the toasting phase. It usually takes a couple minutes. I like this little character, the spinel, also because it can get, I don't want too much stickiness to happen. If it sticks to the bottom of the pot, it's okay. Actually, when we lived in the Dominican Republic, it's called con, which is the rice that sticks to the bottom of the pot. And if it was greased well enough, which in this case there's enough oil in here, you could actually like peel off the con and it would make like little strips of kind of that crunchy, soft rice. It's actually really good. Everybody would fight over it. So if there's a little sticking to the bottom, that's fine, but there is enough oil in here for toasting. The browning is starting to happen, which means it's time to shock. So I am going to pull all the kernels off of the side and get them into the base of the pot as best I can, and then we're going to shock. All right, we've got all that water in there. I'm gonna mix this to make sure we have no stray kernels behind. Give it a little stir. And then we're gonna put the lid on and bring it to a boil. So we're gonna bring this to a boil, reduce heat to a simmer, and let it simmer for 10 minutes. Then I'm gonna turn off the heat after 10 minutes and let it sit for another 10 minutes, and it will be cooked to perfection. Okay, see, there's my other spinella. I told you I use them all the time. So I'm gonna reheat this rice. So real quick, how to reheat. This is just plain, regular stovetop rice. It's not sticky at all. It's gonna be a little fluffier. So what I'm gonna do is just add a dollop of hot water. Just a dollop. Whoop. Like that maybe was a tablespoon. So I usually just microwave the rice with a little bit of water for 30 to 45 seconds, warm it up nicely, give it a little toss and a little fluff, and it is good to go. The shock and boil rice is boiling. I know I shouldn't remove the lid. That's generally something I don't do, but just to make sure, and I'm gonna reduce this to a simmer. I have set the timer for 10 minutes. We're gonna let this simmer for 10 minutes, then I'll turn off the heat, let it sit for another 10, and it'll be ready. So this is just finished. It's 10-minute sit on the stove moment, and it is ready. Ooh, love it. Love the steam. So sticky rice in the Instant Pot, sticky rice on the stovetop. I also got out a regular rice. This is basically the same cooking method. I just didn't rinse the rice, and I'm hoping I can show you the difference in consistency and fluffiness versus stickiness between these two stovetop rice. But first, let's do a little test. The Instant Pot rice has been cooling down for a minute. I'm just gonna stir it around a little bit and get some to stick to the spoon. It's gonna fall a little bit, but the rice is sticking to the spoon in a very, this is like the Dairy Queen upside down where they hold your, yeah, same story here. So we have that. This probably needs to get fluffed a little bit and cool down. It does get a little stickier as it cools, but we'll see if we can get it, see if I can show you the stickiness consistency. It's a little bit fluffier than the sticky rice in the Instant Pot. That's probably because the jasmine rice versus the long grain white rice, but it's still fairly sticky. That's because, again, we rinsed off the starchiness of the grains. So that's that. And then this is a little different. This isn't quite as warm as this, but it's much softer and fluffier. This is much stickier. And again, that goes back to keeping, rinsing the starch off of the rice before we cook it. This will get a little stickier as it cools down as well. So that is a look at Instant Pot sticky rice. We did the jasmine rice here. We did the long grain white rice on the stovetop with the shock and boil method, and then this is also shock and boil but without rinsing the rice, so it is a little softer and fluffier. So I'm gonna just go ahead and serve maybe 2 heaping spoonfuls, spinellafuls. Love the steam there. And then we are going to do some orange chicken right on top. Let me just give it another little toss with the sauce. Yum. I'm surprised one of the kids hasn't smelled this yet and come running downstairs. They're home this week for spring break, so, you know, I'm sure somebody will show up here shortly. Okay, and then last but not least, we need to get a little green onion chopped. So I usually lop off the bottoms of the little stems. Might save those for something else. And then slice down. Sometimes you have to peel back one of the layers. Give it a little rinse maybe. The green onion is a good flavor complement. Get a little pop of color in there as well. Just cut until you see, as long as you can still see a clear, kind of a transparent looking, that's the onion taste inside there. So eventually you'll get up here further and there will be none of that. So it won't taste like anything. You just got a little green leaf. So once you get to that point where you don't see any more of that transparent stuff, you're not going to get any more flavor. So that should be good like that. And then we are going to just drop these right onto our dish. Okay, and just like that, we have a perfect bowl of sticky rice to go with our orange chicken. If you learned something new, I would love it if you'd share this video with a friend. Also, please like and subscribe. We release new episodes of Learning to Cook with Erin at noon Central Time on Wednesday. So like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.